So when I am inspired to write and when I actually write things down are two separate moments. And I would venture that I get ideas all the time, and then what I have to do is write them down immediately. Or if I'm driving, which happens a lot, I get ideas when I'm driving, and then it's not safe to write things down immediately. And so I actually record, I memo record very quickly. Like, oh, you're going to write a poem about monkeys in space. Get that done. And then I try to describe as much as I'm thinking about or any particular lines. And then I go back when I'm at home. And if I still like the idea after it's been a few minutes or days or whatever, and it's still resonating with me, then I will write. And with the nonfiction, it's also similar. Present tense. Writing in present tense is very difficult for me. Because I love to do it. It gives you the experiential, you're experiencing it with the character. But the problem is you can't jump into the future and talk about the significance or what it meant. And so I love present tense, but then I find myself messing up time and, just like jumping around in time, and then my reader gets confused. And so I always have to stop and think, okay, why do you want to do this? And be intentional in how you do it and be deliberate. And sometimes I'm not, and I have to go back and fix it. I feel like the first time I thought of myself as a writer was when somebody else called me a writer. But I'd already been doing that. I feel like so many writers are like, I used to be the kid with the notebook in high school. And I was the kid with the notebook in high school who wrote down all of my feelings or what I thought about things. And I still go back to like my third or fourth grade diaries and, read what I was thinking. And it's amazing because I remember the feelings that makes any sense, like junior high feelings. And then I'm like, oh, right, I've always been doing this. I just didn't know that it was going to be a career. I thought of it as therapy. And then journalism happened. And then once I had my name in print and there was a byline, then I was like, okay, I'm a writer. And that felt good. But I've always done it. It wasn't like an epiphany or I'm going to do this. It was just, oh, there's a name for this thing that you've been doing your entire life. And you can actually make a career out of this, which my parents didn't believe. I probably read The Unbearable Lightness of Being every year because I love Milan Kundera and I love the way he makes sentences. And even though it's fiction, it informs a lot of my nonfiction. The way that he goes from talking about, music and then transitions into how a person is feeling and then transitions into global conflict. And I love that all of these things can be contained within the same world, right? That a book can be about art and criticism and violence and love and, still work and be compelling. So I love that. I read a lot of poetry and I read a lot of news. And I actually read news from other countries about the US often to get a different sense or different perspective. I try to be global because I feel like as an American, a lot of the times we tend to kind of only think of ourselves. And so even when I'm writing about being Latin American or I'm writing about immigration or I'm writing about the war on drugs, it's easy to just focus on the here, but when you zoom out, cosmic zoom, I always say, but when you zoom out, it allows you to kind of see the complexities and the larger systems that can inform everything. So as far as my reading goes, I tend to read a lot of international authors, a lot of poetry, and a lot of foreign news, translated terribly. But I do my best to kind of assemble a working picture that is outside of what is familiar.